It has been close to a year now that my dad has been asking about a carport. They currently just park out in the sun because the garage is actually his workshop. So since I'm still staying with them for a few weeks until closing on the house, I decided it was the perfect opportunity to take on such a large project. I'm going to be making their carport 20 by 24 so that there's plenty of room, and also building the entire structure from steel so that it gives it a really nice, permanent, and robust look. After figuring out the location of the carport, I figured out where the 4 posts would land and then started digging. Now, the ground around here is almost nothing but solid rock, so the go-to method is to use a jackhammer.
Not too bad. It's not too bad.
It is always exciting to get to use a new tool.
You can feel it. And your toes. Mama, you want to try it? Yeah.
Mom took a turn, and she didn't think it was too bad at all. And then even Cody took a turn. And with him being stronger, it was a lot easier for him to manage. But, well, this is my project. I was aiming for about 20 inches, and I did the majority of the loosening up with a jackhammer, and then came back with pulse hole diggers. After repeating that on the other 3 posts, I started mixing the concrete. Now, I talked to a few contractors in the area, and a go-to method for setting posts in the area is to fill the hole with concrete and use an anchor plate to secure the posts.
So this is called an anchor plate, and what I'm going to do is drop these eye bolts into the concrete, and then later, after the concrete sets up, I'm going to come back with my steel posts and weld them to this plate so that they're nice and secure.
I took some very careful measurements to figure out the location of these plates. It would have saved a lot of time if I would have popped some string lines beforehand, but I just didn't think about it. However, I did take my time making sure that the plates were nice and level, because then this will ensure that the posts come out nice and plumb. After letting the concrete fully cure, then it was time to start setting the posts. First ran the nuts down onto the eye bolts nice and securely, and then set each post vertically up in place. Structurally, I definitely could have gotten away with 4x4 posts, but since the rest of the frame is going to be nice and robust, I wanted the post to match, so I went with 6x6s instead. After getting all 4 posts erected, I took multiple measurements to make sure that the structure was square and that these posts were exactly where they needed to be. Next, I brought out the welding equipment and welded the posts to the plates, of course, after making sure that all 4 of them were nice and plumb. For this project, I'm using my Lincoln 210 machine. Now at this point, all of the posts are taller than what I need them, and to get them down to the height needed, I marked the location on one post, then ran a string line from that one over to the next, using a line level to project the level line across. After repeating this on the remaining 3 posts, I switched over to my plasma cutting gear and cut all of the posts to height. I find this easiest to do freehand and not mess with a straight guide. But you could very well clamp a straight bar or a flat bar in place in order to guide your cut. After all 4 were cut, I moved on to attaching the girders. So these angle irons are just to act as a temporary shell for me to set the girders in place while I weld it. That way I don't have to figure out how to also support them. It's like driving a semi.
Yep.
Make wide turns.
And these pieces are a little bit heavy. It's roughly around 95 pounds a joint. So I just made sure to take my time walking up those ladders especially. But having the brackets clamped into place made this go very quickly.
Hey! Oh, it's a cool feeling, right?
Yeah.
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 Once the girder was set on the shelf, I would tack it in a few different places and then come back and weld it completely on the front and back. And of course, just repeat it on all 4.
Wow.
Does it make you happy?
Yeah, it makes me happy. It's so cool. I've never done a structure this big, you know? Or anything. On.
Come on.
For some reason, I didn't get any footage of it, but since the posts are hollow, I cut some caps for them from just some flat material and then welded them on top. Next, I moved on to making the trusses. I'm going with a 3/12 pitch because it will match the house, and I'm using a chop saw to make the cuts. After getting the top cord cut, I tacked it into place and then welded them together. For this, went ahead and rented a man basket, thinking it would make life a little bit easier. Before lifting the truss into the air, though, I clamped a piece of wood on either end where the truss needed to be flushed up to. This way, as Cody lifted it up into the air, I could just climb onto the ladder and move one side of the truss into place and have something to clamp it to. So I clamped the right side, then ran over to the left and also clamped it. And there was a lot of going up and down the ladders on this step. Once I had both sides temporarily secured, I moved the ladder to the middle in order to check the left and right orientation. This is where a plumb bob would come in handy, but didn't have one, so I made do. With the sides still being temporarily clamped, I grabbed a board and then just hammered it over until the level in the center was perfectly vertical.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Once I liked it, I flipped the level around and got the truss perfectly in line with the girder.
You're just gonna pull the slightest bit, okay? Go ahead. All right. Perfect. Okay, hold it.
In order to give the trusses some stability from wanting to rock forward and backward, I went over to my flat piece of metal and cut some gussets to weld on. I went ahead and cut 2 gussets per post, and then welded these to the back side of the truss and to the top side of the post. Then moved on to making the webs, or I believe they're sometimes called dog legs, but they're the supporting members that will connect the truss's top cord to the bottom cord. And you can use a chop saw to cut these, but I found it easiest just to use my plasma cutter.
Damn, that looks good.
So, I know it looks big, but like whenever I think carport, I think one of those like kind of crappy temporary looking, gonna float away any minute looking things.
Exactly, because when people Google freestanding
Carport, that's what they get. They get that like that, that's like a tent.
Right.
I just think this looks a lot better. This looks like a more permanent carport. Carport.
Yeah, this thing ain't going nowhere.
This thing ain't going nowhere.
After completing the front truss, I moved to the back and repeated the same.
That's the last one, folks. Well, for right now. This is a huge project. I'm happy with the progress, but I am gonna have to break it into multiple videos. So if you're interested in part 2, I'm gonna be welding on the purlins, adding on the roof, as well as giving it a coat of paint. So stay tuned if you're interested in seeing my carport complete. I will see you then, guys.